Hey guys, Zari here. So one of the questions that I get a lot is which imbuments should I use? So you've probably noticed that in my videos, depending on the content, I'm using different combinations of these three. So here's just a little tip on how to determine which of the three should you be using. So first off, let's talk about what each is best for. So cold imbuement is the biggest single target damage when combined with frigid finesse. So this perk here, which gives us increased damage for frozen enemies as well as chilled enemies. Then we've got Poison Imbuement. This is the best for survival since it helps generate the stacks of armor for the disobedience aspect. So on my amulet here, there are those armor stacks that I'm talking about. And this helps a lot with survival. And also if we want to take further perks here to give us more attack speed or less damage from poison enemies. And then Shadow Imbuement. This is the best for AoE, dealing with large packs that die relatively quickly. Now this is only really helpful though if the mobs have really low health and therefore they're going to be getting killed by this and therefore creating large explosions. If they're not dying, well then you don't get explosions and it really doesn't help you much. So when do we use which combination? Well, first off, Cold and Shadow is best for content that's easy for you, for farming, where you aren't worried about dying at all. Okay. So again, Cold and Shadow. And then we've got Shadow and Poison. I would use this for what you would consider mid-level content or content that's semi-challenging for you. This is probably the most well-rounded, so if you were to just have to pick two for all content and you didn't want to switch, I would recommend these two. And then we've got Cold and Poison. I would use this for pushing difficult content. So whatever you consider hard content, as you push up to higher tiers, I would use that because you're not going to be dealing with a lot of mobs that are going to die real fast. So Shadow Imbuement, the value you get from that drops off significantly. So instead, you stick with survival stuff as well as big single target burst damage. So and then the third option is using all three. So I like using all three when I want as much damage as possible and maybe I'm not worried about survival quite as much. So for example, in group content, this works out pretty well, or even pushing high content I've used it for if I want to be able to try and get more damage out there faster. So I always recommend play with it, experiment, have fun with it, part of the game. So just to briefly summarize here, so when do we use each combo? So Cold Shadow, use that for your easier farm content. Shadow Poison, use that for your all-around content or mid-level content. And Cold Poison, use that for your more difficult content. And if you want to try all three, use that for group play or if you just want to have maximum damage. So hope that was helpful, you guys. And remember, if you found this content helpful, feel free to follow for more tips and build videos later. And there will be a build in the description or at the end of the video here. Bye, guys.